Failure never knocks politely. It breaks the door and walks in. For Ion, failure arrived on an ordinary morning that was supposed to be special. The sun rose like it always did, birds sang like they always had, and people went on with their lives except his world stopped moving. The results were out. Ion sat alone in his small room, staring at the screen of his phone. His name was there, but not where it was supposed to be. The dream he had carried for years, late night studying, sacrificed sleep, missed family gatherings, collapsed into a single word: failed. His hands trembled. His chest felt tight as if someone had placed a heavy stone on his heart. He read the result again and again, hoping his eyes were lying. They were not. He dropped the phone on the bed and covered his face with his hands. "How did this happen?" he whispered. For years Ion had been the hope of his family. His parents never said it loudly, but he could see it in their eyes. They believed he would succeed, that he would change their life, that he would be the one who made all the sacrifices worth it. And now he was the reason for silence. When Ion walked into the living room, his mother looked up and smiled softly. "Result Agaya?" she asked gently. Ion tried to speak, but his voice refused to come out. He only nodded, slowly, painfully. His father looked at him for a moment, then looked away. Not angry, not shouting, disappointed. That hurt more than any scolding ever could. Dinner that night was quiet. No one mentioned the result, but it sat at the table with them, louder than words. Every bite tasted like regret. That night, Ion couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment. If I had studied a little more, if I hadn't wasted time, if I were smarter. Failure has a cruel way of turning your own mind against you. Days passed, but the weight did not lift. Friends stopped calling. Relatives began asking questions that felt like knives. "So what happened? Next plan kia hai? You were so good, how did you fail?" Ion stopped going out. He avoided mirrors because he couldn't stand looking at the person who had disappointed everyone. One evening, he sat alone on the rooftop as the sky turned orange. He thought about quitting everything. Dreams, effort, hope. What's the point, he thought. I tried. I failed. That's it. Tears rolled down his face, silently. Not loud, dramatic crying, just quiet tears of exhaustion. That's when he noticed an old man sitting a few steps away. Ion hadn't seen him before. The man looked simple, wearing worn clothes, his hair white, his face full of lines that looked like stories. "You look like someone who lost something important," the old man said calmly. Ion didn't reply. "Let me guess," the man continued. "You failed." That word again. Ion clenched his fists. "Yes," he said bitterly. "And now everything is over." The old man smiled, not mockingly, but kindly. "No," he said. "Something is beginning." Ion laughed softly, full of pain. "Beginning? You don't understand. I worked for years. One failure destroyed everything." The old man looked at the sky. "Do you know how many times this sun has set and risen?" he asked. Ion shrugged. "Thousands of times," the man said. "And every sunrise looks like a beginning, but it only exists because the sun first sets." Ion frowned. "Failure is like sunset," the man continued. "It looks like darkness, but it is not the end of the sky." Ion stayed silent. "I failed more times than I can count," the old man said softly. "Lost money, lost respect, lost people. But each failure taught me something success never could." Ion looked at him. "Like what?" The old man turned toward him. "That you are more than one result. That pain can shape you instead of breaking you. And that growth begins where comfort ends." The words stayed with Ion that night. For the first time in weeks, he didn't hate himself completely. Still, mornings were hard. Doubt followed him everywhere. But one small thought began to grow inside him. What if this is not the end? He started reflecting, not on what he lost, but on what went wrong. He realized he had studied with fear, not understanding. He chased marks, not learning. He compared himself to others instead of improving himself. Failure had exposed his weaknesses, but also his potential. One day, he opened his books again. His hands were shaking. This time, he whispered, "I won't run away." He didn't tell anyone. He didn't make big promises. He just started, slowly, honestly. Some days were terrible. Some days he wanted to quit again. But he remembered the old man's words. Growth begins where comfort ends. And slowly, quietly, something inside him changed. He wasn't studying to prove others wrong anymore. He was studying to rebuild himself. And that is where real growth began. Growth is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, in moments when no one is watching. For Ion, growth began with discipline. He woke up early, not because he felt motivated, but because he made a promise to himself. Some mornings he failed to keep it. Instead of hating himself, he learned to try again the next day. That was new. Earlier, failure meant quitting. Now, failure meant learning. He changed how he studied. He focused on understanding, not memorizing. When something felt difficult, he didn't avoid it. He stayed with it. Struggle means I'm growing, he reminded himself. There were still voices around him. You already failed once. What if it happens again? Don't dream too big. But now there was a stronger voice inside him. I've survived failure. I'm not afraid anymore. Months passed. The boy who once hid from the world began standing straighter. His parents noticed the change, not in results, but in attitude. One night his father spoke quietly. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, "but I see you trying. That matters." Those words healed something deep inside Ion. The exam came again.
This time his hands were steady, not because he was sure of success, but because he was no longer afraid of failure. Whatever happened, he knew he would survive. When the results came, Ayan didn't rush to check. He took a deep breath first, and then he smiled. He passed, not at the top, not perfectly, but honestly, earned through growth. Tears filled his eyes, not tears of relief, but of gratitude. Failure had humbled him, struggle had strengthened him, pain had matured him. That evening, Ayan returned to the rooftop. The old man wasn't there, but the sky looked familiar. "Thank you," Ayan whispered to the failure that once broke him. He understood something now. If he had succeeded the first time, he might never have learned patience, never learned resilience, never learned his true strength. Failure had not ruined his life, it had rebuilt it. Years later, when Ayan faced bigger challenges, career setbacks, personal losses, he didn't fall apart, because once you learn that failure is not the end, nothing can fully defeat you. He often told others, "Don't fear failure, fear staying the same." Because failure is painful, but staying broken is a choice. And growth begins the moment you choose not to quit.